Last Friday, the Supreme Court agreed to hear an important discrimination claim brought by Gerald Groff. He's a Christian postal employee in Pennsylvania who was forced to work on Sundays. And Groff worked as an auxiliary mailman and initially was not required to make Sunday deliveries. But all of this changed in 2015 when Amazon packages began to be required to be delivered on Sundays, and eventually this led to Groff's resignation. So the ramifications for religious freedom in this case are potentially enormous. Joining me now to discuss this is Stephanie Taub. She's a senior counsel with First Liberty Institute, which is the organization defending this case before the Supreme Court. Stephanie, thank you for joining us today on Washington Watch. We appreciate you coming on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on to talk about this very important case.
Well, it really is an extremely important case, and in fact, you've got to be gratified that the Supreme Court has decided to hear this case.
Oh, absolutely. The Supreme Court only takes 1% to 2% of cases where people ask them to take the case. And here, this case has the potential to protect religious freedom in the workplace for countless workers across the country. So this case is asking for the court to provide meaningful religious accommodations to people of faith, and it'll impact people who work at so many corporations, so not just government employers, but private employers as well across the country.
That's huge. And I want to get back to that because that's an extremely important case you just brought up. But let me just throw this in here real quickly. I go back and I think of Coach Kennedy's appeal to pray after high school football games. And of course, that was decided in his favor last year. Just real quickly, your opinion, is the Supreme Court opening the door for greater clarification and freedom as it relates to religious liberty?
Absolutely. And the Coach Kennedy case was one in a series of religious liberty cases that the Supreme Court has been taking, and they haven't been shy about overturning or about revisiting, reconsidering cases that have had disastrous effects throughout the country. So here, for instance, there is a case from the 1970s that really gutted the employment protections for religious employers or for religious employees. And so now we're asking this court, this is the opportunity to reconsider that case and make sure that religious employees' religious freedom is respected in the workplace.
Well, it's got to be respected in the workplace. You know, the First Amendment is not written just for churches or nonprofit organizations or that type of thing. It's written for individuals. It's written for everyday people. So let's go back into what you were just explaining, some of the broader implications, if you will, for religious accommodations. If this case is successful, what kind of ramifications will this have?
Absolutely. This could impact so many different people of faith and their ability to request religious accommodations, and more importantly, the duty of employers to take those requests seriously. So over the past few years, we've seen so many requests for religious accommodations, and employers have not always taken their requirements with the level of seriousness that they should. And so here, this is the chance to return the law to how it's written, to restore religious liberty. So we're asking the Supreme Court to return us to a standard that is pro-employee, that is pro-people of faith.
You know, as a former member of Congress, we used to have complaints frequently from individuals who in their workplace, be it in schools or similar to Gerald Groff, wherever it may be, were experiencing discrimination based upon their faith. And I'm sure you hear these type of situations over and over and over. What happened to Gerald Groff is not an isolated incident. These things are happening all across the country. What would you say to those individuals who right now feel as though, man, they're going through the same type of stuff that Gerald Groff has been going through?
Well, I'll say stay tuned. It's a really good sign that the Supreme Court has taken this case. They're looking into this issue and they will take it very seriously. So we're expecting oral arguments later this year and then a decision in June. So please watch for that. You can follow us at firstliberty.org where you can find out updates about this case and all of our other cases.
Okay, so let's go through the timeline here. The oral arguments, just walk people through what's going to happen.
Absolutely. So over the next couple of months, we're going to be briefing the case, and then there'll be oral arguments in around April, and then we'll expect a decision probably around June before the court takes off on summer recess.
Okay, now you've had a lot of experience with a number of different cases and seeing the mood right now of the Supreme Court. What's your kind of gut feeling as to where this is going to move?
Well, I'm pretty optimistic. We've seen several of the justices in recent years write opinions saying, maybe it's time we take a look at this particular issue. And so now they've decided that this is the case, this is the time, and we are so hopeful that they're going to restore religious liberty in the marketplace.
And how can people be praying for you in this case right now?
So please pray for strength for Gerald. And pray for all of the attorneys that are going to be working on this case. Pray for the justices that they will have clarity and will make the right decision for liberty for all of us.
Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Washington Watch and for the incredible work you do. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.